Thank you so much. And we start with our molecular tumor board, and we try to decipher things in individual situation and see what maximum information we can get in those individual situations. And for the first part of the discussion, that is Del 19, we do have four eminent panelists. Starting with the case, elderly person, 75-year-old with hypertension, IHD, had dyspnea on exertion, got a scan done, had metastatic disease. There was a lung mass, a biopsy done, and the biopsy shows exon 19 deletion. And for brain mets, patient received radiotherapy, and patient was started on the TKI. So this was the report of this patient, and it's obvious that this was a PCR based report. Starting with our panelists, what are the expectation as a clinician we have when we want to see a PCR report? Maybe we can start with Dr. Mangesh. Because usually we are very comfortable with deletion 19 knowing, but do you want to know more details? Know that when we get the report, these are 3, 4, 5, or 7 things information you will like to have when we have this PCR report.
We would like to see any other associated mutation is there or not. Means if exon 19 is there, some in rare cases it might be associated with some other rare mutations also, or some crossed mixed mutations like ALK mutation positivity or MET amplification. So rarely we see these things. So that information add-on we would like to see in this case.
Thank you, Dr. Mangesh. Dr. Chandrakant, do you want to check the quality control for the report? You want to know the information. Checking will be separate, but do you want to have those information available in the report? Dr. Chandrakant?
Yes, sir. Definitely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Good morning, sir. So, yes, sir. So definitely we need to have a quality check. Not only not only just a deletion is enough. We also need to see which exon it is, what is the deletion, which amino acid is replaced. Also, I need to not only the sensitive mutations, also the resistant mutations like the coexisting T790M or other rarer mutations in exon 20. So all these details are important. But however, PCR is more of a cost-efficient way. So if I can have all the 4 exons as you showed in this slide, I am happy enough. But however, a quality control is extremely important, so I think.
Dr. Lalit,
yeah, I think most of the things have already been shared, so nothing new inputs from my side.
Nilesh, quality control, do any of the lab where you get tested, they share the details with you, or do you ask them, and then what are the things you should ask them?
So, well, there's no doubt that quality control is important. I've had a previous experience where somebody was shown to be positive on a Sanger sequencing. And then after we started the patient on the first line EGFR drug, we got a feedback from the lab itself saying that there were differences in their limits of positivity. And what was previously considered positive is now to be considered negative. So we did actually then follow up that with an NGS, and that was negative. So I definitely think that quality control is important. Having said that, on my routine testings, I generally do not have that additional information coming in from the labs.
So, Nilesh raised a very pertinent point that, and we all have come across, and it will happen. There is always technology has a limitation. But having that information becomes useful. That decreases the chance of missing things. So, I think so. As a clinician, it will be good for us to keep pushing that. How much was the tissue when the tissue was there? What was the percentage of tumor cells? If they took out DNA, how much was the DNA? What was the quality of DNA? So these information, I agree, it is not there in most of the report. So, no, but maybe this comes only with the push from the clinician side. So it will be good that if we push our lab that this information is there with them, they do it. If they put it in writing, they also become more responsible. And that will be a good idea to have it when we want some basic quality check about it, when we want the PCR report from any lab. So these are some of those I mentioned. Sure, we can ask the validation report from them, how they have got it when they say it is positive. What is the positive control they are running? What is the negative control they are running? They do run in the duplicate or run in a single sample for the patient. So those information becomes useful in having a confidence in the report we have. I'll come to that. A similar situation what Nilesh pointed out as we go by. It does happen to all of us. Now this is a same patient. We got the NGS done because this patient wanted to have more information if there's anything else which is there. So I want to have it. Now coming to the panelists again, how many of you are comfortable with PCR, or you say no, NGS should be the way to go for single gene also? Maybe we can this time start with Nilesh. Maybe I can trouble you.
So, in the past, we always preferred PCR because it was much faster to get these results. It used to take a week, within a week to get these results. And those days, NGS took a much longer time, almost a month plus to get the NGS reports. But nowadays, it is possible to get NGS much faster. Having said that, in lung, when I'm looking at a fixed panel, for example, I'm looking at EGFR, AL, cross, MET, PRAF, and it's generally more specified in lung in particular. And in practice, I do tend to use more of PCR-based assays. But if preferable, I would prefer to do an NGS panel.
NGS panel. Dr. Lalit?
Yeah, I think if given a choice, NGS we prefer, but again, to go to the depth of each individual mutation, it becomes difficult, honestly, sitting in clinical practice to go into the depth of all these minor details.
Dr. Chandrakant?
So yes, sir, I would prefer to do an NGS. One is the tissue. I can get all the mutations in a small amount of tissue, reasonably good turnaround time if the cost is not an issue. But however, if cost is an issue, definitely even today, PCR is what we practice in today's practice. But of course, in future, the way to go is to get NGS for all the genes, not to miss out even the rare mutations.
बेटे एसी चालू छोड़ के तुम ऐसे आती हो, कितना खराब हो जाएगा अभी.
Mangesh, Dr. Taran, looks like your speaker is on. Just informing me. Dr. Mangesh, any comment on that? NGS, PCR?
Sir, depending on the tissue, if the tissue is good, then we can start off with PCR. And to begin with, if we find that tissue is inadequate or small sample is there, which might not be available for future testing, so NGS will be preferred in this setting. But I'm okay with starting with PCR. And if the other logistic issues are not there, like finances or other things, then NGS is preferred. And especially if the tissue sample size is small.
Dr. Kumar, can you allow me for one question to you only?
Right, please.
In fact, there are a lot of commercial labs coming to the practitioners sitting in various parts of country, and it becomes difficult for us to make that which company or which platform is giving the good results. And most often the reference laboratory like Tata Hospital or any other good lab, access may be difficult, sampling is difficult, transportation is another big challenge. So how do I know, as sitting in Jaipur or any other part of country, that this particular lab is doing the best possible controlled way of the NGS or PCR based tests?
So, Dr. Lalit, what I'll do is in the next part of the panel, I'll be talking about this NGS quality control. Somehow the treatment part I'm missing, so I won't be discussing here. But I will come to that, your question, sir.
Right. Thank you.
This I agree with, this is important. What are the things we should be pushing to the lab to share? And they have the data.
Right.
And they can put on the same report what is there. And that will be useful for them also. And it will be useful, very useful for us, so that we know that when we are getting the report, what it means. So I'll come to that, Dr. Lalit.
Right. Thank you.
So this was in this report for this, we had same information what was there. Then you have a P53, which is the commonest mutation in the lung cancer. So you'll keep seeing them. If you see them in the NGS report, don't get worried. There is some data that maybe P53 positive patient may do worse. But having said that, we are not so sure about it. At this moment, we don't prognosticate based on this. But it tells you that quality of the report is good, because if they're picking up P53 frequently in your report, they are doing a decent job, because 70% of your patients in lung cancer should have P53, one of those P53 mutations. And P53, the kind of the width it is, and a different type of mutation it has, if they're picking up, they would have put some effort to get it. So that gives you one way of having the report, having the indirect quality check. This is a question for, do we require NGS? What are the information we should look in the report, and what kind of NGS we should do? So one will be, do we require, and what kind means, do we do whole exome or targeted? Maybe we can start with Dr. Mangesh.
Yes, sir. Definitely, we require NGS because as we have seen, the quality will be checked with it, or some other associated mutations will go in one go. Associated BRAF mutations or MET amplification that can be picked up by NGS, which is which cannot be picked by the PCR. So it's definitely needed, and all these things we will see in the reports. What are the associated other mutations?
Nilesh, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, so the advantages of NGS, like we mentioned, were the additional mutations. One more thing that is being seen more commonly and where we have good targets is the HER2 mutations and amplifications. So these again can be picked up. Again, the other advantage of NGS may not be specific for lung is you can look into other things like tumor mutational burden. So it does help.
Thank you, Nilesh. I agree that we'll prefer it, and as told by the panelists, one of the reasons is slowly we are learning that our traditional teaching that exon 19, exon 21, they are sensitive. But what you can see then exon 19, you can have mutation which is resistant, and that specific which kind of mutation you have, you may or may not get in PCR. That one has to put extra provision to know that which type of mutation you are having. And for me, more striking is like exon 20. Again, most of them resistant mutation, but you can have some of them. Knowing that kind of TKI you have easily available, again, it is useful to know those mutations, that these places you can give TKI and it works. And similarly in exon 18, and with some discretion that in those uncommon mutations, you have some data that different TKIs may have a different work. So having afatinib, having label to it, so that always bears in our mind that it works in that setting. So that is where for single gene also exon 19 specifically, when I'm talking about, there is some merit that if you do NGS based technology, you do get some extra information. But I do concede you need to get in time. We need to get in within the cost frame what we have. If not, then PCR is serving us good, showing the same data in a different way, that you do have whole different type of exon 19 mutation. Looks like when the analysis was done for different type, looks like all of them, they do well, they respond well to the treatment. I showed you they have not included all different types, but showing that yes, till now overall majority of the exon 19 mutation, they do well with the TKI with some exceptions. But you do have some uncommon ones, as shown earlier, here again showing that they not necessarily. So we have learned only deletion, but we are learning that you can have substitution, you can have frame shift mutation, and there is where you have a different mutations having a different outcome, and PFS ranging from 6 months to 24 months, highlighting that slowly with the NGS data we learn more beyond those routine exon 19 mutation, how we are going to treat those patients. But We can't ignore it, primarily because in good number of them, these uncommon ones, you do have a treatment available, and treatment is not only available, it is affordable.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead, Nilesh.
So recently there was a patient who was EGFR negative on PCR, but the NGS picked up a EGFR kinase domain duplication, something that is very, very rare. I think I discussed this case with you also. And a review of literature showed about 8-10 case reports, all of which have responded to osimertinib and afatinib. So then that's again something that was picked up on an NGS, but not on the PCR.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, as a clinician, I always say what we want is what we should work for. Pushing the labs to make it cost effective. And I'm sure the moment it is cost effective, most likely our discussion will be a bit different. And if you want NGS, we need to keep pushing them, do in a cost what we are getting with the PCR. With this, any last comment by other panelists? Then we'll move on to the next case.
So can I just ask quickly, what are the disadvantages of NGS? I mean, apart from the time and lab reliability, are there any specific disadvantages of NGS?
Absolutely, totally, Dr. Nilesh. What PCR does now, already you have a cutoff there, and that curve gives you the report. And once you have, because like for the Sanger report, I am very surprised that Sanger report positive became negative. It's usually other way around. This because you have to put a cutoff, because you can go on having a depth in the NGS. So 1%, 0.1%, 0.01%, where you put a cutoff, and you can give a report as a positive. But that takes a bit of a work for doing to realize that yes, what the report you are getting is the correct report. To differentiate between the noise and the real ones takes a bit of a skill. Having seen those, in many of the project work and shown by our colleague in the lab, how those interpretation, what we think that NGS tells us which mutation is there. No, it is like a bit of a clinical judgment also. What we do, we say patient is sick or not. They also see, oh, this peak was, for example, I'm showing a peak here. Now, some peaks, people will say this peak is good. And some peak, the same peak with a lesser peak will say this is a noise. Now that becomes a relative subjective judgment. So that judgment is a bit more in NGS, but as the time goes by, it becomes good. So it's a bit of a complex process, no doubt. Unless you have a good lab, one should rely more on PCR than NGS. And I'll be showing one of the examples for that. Any other comment by anyone?
Sir, we have a few questions, sir. Can I project them, sir?
Go ahead.
Sure, sir.
Any role of quantitative assessment if re-biopsy than previous report? At this moment, no. What people only know that if it becomes negative, it is useful. But whatever data I have looked into, as a part of another project, maybe it may come the way it has come for CML. But at this moment, only want to know negative and positive at the time of repeat testing, where it looks like they do better or worse at this moment. Do some genes show up preferably on PCR or NGS? Yes, there are technical reasons for sometimes NGS doesn't mean you don't miss in NGS. Yes, you do miss in NGS. It doesn't mean every time, you will pick up more in NGS as compared to PCR, but you will miss some of them in NGS as compared to PCR. If you already have a classical EGFR exon 19 deletion RT-PCR, how would the management change by doing NGS? Or rephrasing, question is, which clinical scenario, why should you request NGS after a positive PCR? I totally agree with Navneet. By and large, yes, if you have an exon 19 report, most of the other tests will be negative. But having said that, I will show you an example of concomitant mutations. So if resource is not an issue, one should consider you get a small number. It is 1 to 2%, but you do get concomitant mutation. And then you can ask the question, what to do? I don't say I know full detail, but I know that if you have EGFR and ALK, I have a chance to intervene more than once. So having said that, can be a relative merit to it, but in general, once you have an exon 19 report, by and large, we don't do the NGS testing subsequently. So Navneet is right in making that statement.